full time. As time has gone on, I think that it probably would have happened had things gone the way that had my career ended the way it should have ended. But because of the way that it ended, with Tony coming in and taking over, I wasn't really welcome. I didn't feel welcomed. So could I have gone somewhere else? Yeah, I probably could have gone somewhere else and became a coach or whatever, but that wouldn't have been right for me to go somewhere else because this was home for me. I was the face of the organization for 15 years. And so with that, all of the aspirations or chance or idea of me being a coach and stuff just kind of diminished.
How would you have liked it to end? Because I've talked to you about this for the first time this spring, and I was interested. It just doesn't seem like there will ever be any kind of closure between you two, and I understand that. If you and Tony can't get together, he's kind of strong-willed. But how would you have liked it to see it? And what did happen? I mean, it was basically the fact that you did everything you were told to do at spring, and then you weren't playing, right? And that's pretty much.
Here again, I think I was told certain things. I was told that if, in fact, I played better, I would be the guy playing. Not that it should have been that way. If it were that interested in him being a part of the team and being a part of the offense, put him at second base. Here again, it wasn't like I was being wheeled out there in a wheelchair. I was still very functional. Was I like I was at 25? Nobody is at 25. But I was still pretty good at what I did, even at 40, 41. And I played extremely well in spring training. I felt like I played extremely well in spring training. I knew that my arm was as strong as it had been in a long time, and I was able to get it in positions that I hadn't been before because I went down and worked extremely hard with Mackie Shilstone, who had been my trainer since 1985. And so things were better for me health-wise, and I was still very, very good at what I did. And I didn't think that anything that I did in spring training or anything that I did during the year did anything to help hurt this club. And so from that standpoint, it just, it was just really disheartening. And I was being made to look like I was trying to stop progress. I was being painted as this guy who was in the way of the success of this club, and I didn't feel that was fair at all to be characterized as a troublemaker, a guy who would take a faction and say, "Hey, you don't play hard for this guy," or I was never that type of player. But these were the type of things that I was hearing, and I didn't want to leave this game being thought of that way, as a guy who was a troublemaker, I was never really given the opportunity to even sit down and talk about, how this thing should end or stuff. I look around baseball and other guys had the opportunity to walk away from the game the way they wanted. That's what you work for, being able to walk away from it. And I respected the game enough to know that if I couldn't go out there and be productive for a ball club, I wasn't going to stand in the way of the progress of this organization. Certainly, I respected this organization, this city, myself, enough that I would not be one of those players that were just there, just be hanging on. And I wasn't a hanger-oner.
Yeah, but it was incredibly awesome to see you come back and wear the red jacket. And I don't know if it's putting differences aside, but you guys both stand out there on opening day and playoff games. And
I was a professional at what I did, and I wasn't going to allow that to keep me from being in the place that I should be. This is where I should be. This was a big part of my life.
Your number's on the wall.
It's on the wall. So. Why should I allow somebody to walk in here and make it any different? It was a little disheartening that no one. Well, I didn't feel that anyone really stood up and said, "Hey, we don't feel that same way." And I think when you look back at it now, when I look back at it now, that probably was the thing that hurt the most, especially 10 years after I get invited to spring. Well, there was some question about whether or not I would come to spring training and stuff. And then I said, there's nothing there for me. I haven't been there in 10 years, so I get disinvited to spring training. And nobody in the organization says, you're a Hall of Famer. You're always invited to spring training, as I should have been, always invited to spring training. But that's the way it was. It didn't work, and stuff. So what do? Either you let it eat you the rest of your life, or you move on. And so I chose to move on. And it wasn't the most pleasant of times for me, but you know what? I tried to look at all of the great moments and times that I've had here, and I think that overshadows any of that stuff.